If you are a recovering perfectionist or an overachiever, chances are somebody at some point has told you, oh, don't worry about it. Just 80%. 80% is always good enough. And while I guess I agree with the sentiment here, I think this is actually really quite useless, quite unhelpful advice uh, for overachievers. And the reason I think that it's not helpful is because it's like when you actually think about it, what does it mean? Like, how do you judge what 80% of something looks like? Yeah. I don't know about you, but I don't have like a kind of little dashboard that tells me like how much energy I have and how much energy I'm putting into something. So I don't know what 80% effort really feels like. I, especially as somebody who is inclined to think that I should be doing more, I tend to underestimate that for sure. Does it mean that I do 80% of the tasks on my list? In which case, how do I determine which 80%? Does it mean that I only do 80% of a task? In which case, what does it mean to leave something unfinished? So I say I like, and this comes from sort of the 80-20 rule that 80% of the results come from 20% of the effort. And it kind of gets like morphed into this thing about like 80% is good enough. So this is the problem that I have, that it's not tangible. It actually gives me no indication in the moment when I'm working to say, okay, like this is what good enough is. Like it's okay to stop here. This is enough. So if it's not that, what do I recommend instead? So one thing I think is really important and has really been powerful for me and a lot of the clients that I work with is learning to some kind of cycle awareness practice. So learning to work with your natural rhythms and cycles of energy, whether that is your circadian rhythm, the rhythm of your week, your menstrual cycle, the rhythm of your month, whether it's working with the seasons. Because for me, cyclical living is the permission slip to have periods of activity where I am all in and I have a lot of energy and I want to do all of the things. And it gives me permission to then rest, to slow down, and to have periods where I winter, where I do take take a step back and allow myself to have a lot more space. And so cyclical living, working with your own cycles rather than working against them, gives me a really clear felt sense of what enough is, because I have really clear times where I have permission to not do anything. So one is cyclical living. The other thing that I find really helpful is getting really clear on kind of like whether it's values or needs, however you want to kind of like frame this kind of work, but focusing like much more on how you do things rather than necessarily what you do. So what is the kind of the quality that you would like to embody whilst you're working on a task? So maybe one of the words I keep hearing a lot of people bounce around at the moment is ease. So what does that actually look like? What does it look and feel like to work with more ease in what you do? And allow that to kind of guide you into what enough might look like in any given situation. So really like allowing or really making sure that like any values or work that you're doing doesn't just exist in these kind of like random words on a piece of paper that you can like look back on. How are you really embodying them? How you really allow them to guide the way that you show up, how you do things in your day to day. And then the final thing that I think is so important. So the way I experience perfectionism, the way I see it play out, is it's a nervous system strategy. So it's a strategy designed to keep us safe. And it's designed to keep us safe in the face of uncertainty, unpredictability, and it can often come with this flavor of overachieving. Not always, like it can also come with flavors of procrastination and people pleasing, but it's a nervous system strategy. It wants to keep us safe. And so doing the work with your nervous system, developing strategies to help yourself anchor your system in safety, to find ways to regulate your nervous system so that you can hold that discomfort. Because if the thing that you have been practicing for 20, 30, 40 years has been doing as a way of making yourself feel safe, suddenly not doing, suddenly just being like, okay, cool, I'm like, this is enough, I'm going to stop, can bring up all sorts of stuff in your nervous system. So having tools and practices that help you regulate that help you hold that discomfort. Well, yeah, like there's something in me that wants to keep going right now, and I'm choosing to stop. I'm choosing to allow this to be enough. I'm choosing to say no to this thing, choosing to have the weekend off. I'm choosing to put this post, this video out, even though it's not perfect, without doing 3 takes. Yeah, whatever it happens to be, finding that capacity in your nervous system to be able to hold that discomfort. It's not that I think that this discomfort goes away. I think you can get better at how you hold that in yourself. Hello, I've just come to say hi. Hi, Bunny. How are you doing? Okay, so yeah, so those are the things that I think are much more practical, much more useful than the 80% is good enough rule. Okay, so tracking your own, hi Bunny, tracking your cycles and working with them rather than against them. Really thinking about how you're living your values. How do you want to be in the day-to-day activities you're doing? And then finding ways to regulate and resource your nervous system so that you can be more comfortable in the discomfort of perhaps choosing to do less than you are habituated to doing. So I hope you find that helpful. If you have comments, questions, please put them below. I would love to hear how this shows up for you. Has somebody given you this advice before? Like 80% is good enough. How was that for you? How did you respond to that? And might this be a different way for you to discern when enough is enough? All right. Thanks so much, and I will see you next time.